Good morning, students. Last time, आपने जो तो के permanent wilting point, right? So, permanent wilting point or the wilting coefficient is that the water content at which plants can no longer extract sufficient water from the soil for its own growth, right? So, it is uh, It is like permanent wilting point is usually expressed as the weight of the moisture held by the soil per unit weight of the dry soil when the plants are permanently wilted, right? So basically, it that meaning is the permanent building point is at the lower end of the available moisture range. So if the plant does not get sufficient water to meet its need, so it will wilt permanently. So basically, this meaning is permanent wilting point. Now next is temporary wilting. So temporary wilting of plants usually occurs on a hot windy days, but the plants recover from wilting in the cooler portion of the day or during the night without any addition of water to the soil. So that's why the temporary wilting of a plant may occur even without much reduction in the soil moisture content. So it's basically known as a temporary wilting point, right? Next is ultimate wilting. So in that ultimate wilting of plants, which is occur when they become completely wilted and dead. So after ultimate wilting has occurred, the plants do not recover from the wilting even after the addition of water to be the soil, right? So the water contained at which ultimate building occurs is termed as or is known as ultimate building point. And when it is expressed as in percentage, so it then it's called a hygroscopic coefficient. So this average value of hygroscopic coefficient is about 67%, the permanent wilting percentage, right? So, going forward, moisture equivalent. So, it is defined as the percentage of moisture retained and initially saturated sample of soil, which is 10 mm thick, after being subjected to the centrifugal force of this thousand times gravity for a period for 30 minutes, right? So the moisture equivalent may vary from about something 5% for coarse grain sand to more than this 50% for fine clays, right? So for sandy soils, the fill capacity exceeds the moisture equivalent. For very clay soil, fill capacity is generally lower than the moisture equivalent. So this will record in moisture equivalent. Next is available moisture. So the difference in this moisture content of soil between the field capacity and permanent wilting point is called available moisture. So it refers to the capacity of water which is used by the plants for their growth. Next is readily available moisture. So in that note, it is a portion of available moisture that is most easily extracted by plants, and it is approximately 75% of the available moisture. So the average values of field capacity, permanent wilting point, and available moisture are available at difference, right? So according to this different type of soils, there are also differ field capacity or permanent wilting point and also available moisture content, right? So next is extraction of a soil moisture in a root zone. So we understand this topic. So a plant extract the maximum moisture from the upper layer of the soil in the root zone, right? So the moisture extraction pattern indicates the relative amount of moisture extracted by a plant roots from different depth in the root zone. So this figure shows the moisture extraction pattern of the most of the plants growing in a deep uniform soils, right, with the adequate supply of water. It may be observed about this first 40% of the total moisture used is extracted from the first quarter of the root zone, right? In the next level, 30% from the second quarter, 20% from the third quarter, and only last 10% from the fourth quarter, right? So the larger extraction of moisture from the upper layer is due to fact that a uniform soil generally greater root development takes place in the upper layer of the soil than this elsewhere, right? So you better understand this extraction of soil moisture in different root zones. Now next we define the India. The India soils may be divided in these major groups, right? So first one is alluvial soil. So these alluvial soil are formed by successive deposition of silt carried by a river water during the floods. So in the food plants, so in the food plants and along the coastal belts, these soils occur in Indo-Gangetic plains and Brahmaputra plains in North India, and also in the plain of various rivers in the other part of this country, right? So generally, this soils occurs in a thick deposit of 1 meter or more in thickness. So it is a vary in size from clay loam to sandy loam. So they are semi-pervious, right? So the pH value of the soils usually range between this 7 to 9, and hence this soil may be neutral or alkaline in character. So the water holding capacity of these soils is fairly good, and they give a good response to irrigation, right? So these soils are quite suitable for cultivation of almost all varieties of the crops, as alluvial soils are generally are shown in this figure, right? In the next is a black soil. So this black soil is originated by a chemical weathering of rocks such as granite, basalt, trap, etc., right? So mainly these soils in the state of found in the state of Maharashtra, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, right? So the color of these soils ranges from uh, dark brown to the black, and the black soils are highly resilient and very fine grain. So they have a very high water holding capacity, right? So the clay content of these soils vary from 40% to 60%, and these soils are plastic and sticky when it's wet and very hard when it's dry, right? And the soil have this poor drainage characteristics. So the black soils are generally not well suited for irrigation. Deep black soils are quite suitable for growing cottons. Hence, these are also called black cotton soils. Right. So, this black soils are also divided in three parts, which is shallow black soils, medium black soils, and last one is deep black soils. It depends on this depth, right? If the depth is less than 0.3 meter, then it's called shallow black soils. If the depth is between zero point 0.3 to zero point 0.1 zero point 0.3 to 1 meter, so it's called medium black soil. And if depth is more than 1 meter, then it's called deep black soil. Now next is red soils. So this red soil are formed by weathering action of igneous and metamorphic rocks comprises, right. So this soils covers peninsular region comprising Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Kerala, and Madhya Pradesh, right? So these soils are in general light textured loams. So these are deep soils with value of pH ranging from 5 to 8. So they have low water holding capacity and good drainage characteristics. So these soils are generally suitable for irrigation, and the principal crop in the regions covered by the rail soils is rice, right? So figure shows this red soil. Now next is laterite soil. So these soils are formed by weathering of laterite rocks. So these soils occurs mostly in Karnataka, Kerala, Madhya Pradesh, Eastern Ghat, Orissa, Maharashtra, Malabar, etc. Right? So these soils are red or yellowish red in color. So these soils have a low clay content and have a good drainage characteristics. So the principal crop for such a suitable soil is a tea. These soils have a value of pH between 5 to 6, hence acidic in this character, right? So figure show this laterite soil, which colors is yellowish red or red. Now, so these are the soils which India soils this divided into this different types of soils, right? So going further, we will discuss about what is this meaning of duty, delta, and right. So first we talk about the base, right? So base is defined as the period from the first to the last watering of the crop just before is the maturity, right? So it is also known as the base period, right? So it is also denoted as a b. It is also denoted as a b, and it is expressed in number of days. So the crop period is the total period during the which crop remains on the field, whereas the base period is the total period during which irrigation is done. So generally crop period is slightly greater than the base period, but normally both are assumed to be equal, and unless mentioned otherwise, it is expressed in the day. So below this table, there is a crop, and there are the base in days. So for rice, there are 120 days. For wheat, there are also 120 days. For maize, there are 100 days, and for cotton there are 200 days, and the last is sugarcane, which have 320 days. Next is delta. So each crop requires certain amount of water per hectare for its maturity. So if the total of amount of water is supplied to the crop is stored on the land without any loss, then there will be a thick of water standing on the land. So this depth of water is known as a delta for the crop, right? So, mainly its definition is delta is defined as the total depth of water required by a crop during entire base period of the crop, and it is denoted by a delta symbol, right? So, delta for any crop may be determined by dividing the total quantity of water in uh, hectare into meter required by the crop for its own growth by the area of the land in hectares over which crop is growing, right? So for different type of crops, there are also differ in a delta value. So for kharif crops like rice, maize, groundnuts, and millet, this value of delta in centimeter is 125, 45, 30, and 30 centimeter as respectively. So next in for rabi crops like beet, mustard, gram, potato, the delta in centimeter is 40 centimeter, 45 centimeter, 30 meter, 30 centimeter, and the last for potato is 75 centimeter. So these are the crops, different types of crops with its value of delta in centimeter. Very next is the duty. So a duty of water may be defined as the irrigation capacity of a unit of water. So it gives the relation between the area irrigated and quantity of water required. So number of hectares that can be irrigated by constant supply of water at the rate of 1 cubic throughout the base period. So it is usually this defined as it is expressed in hectares per cubic, and it is denoted by capital D, and it varies with the soil condition, method of plugging, method of application of water, right? So for 1 cubic into days, is equal to 1 meter cube per second for 1 day, right? So for different types of crop, there are also different duties in a hectare per cubic. For rice, it's 900. For wheat, it's 1800. For cotton is 1400, and for sugarcane is 800 hectares per cubic. So we stop the lecture here. If you have any confusion or any query, you can contact me anytime, right? Thank you so much.